Christina Universe Citizen presents New Era Religion, Episode 44, May 8th, 2022, Part 2. Consciously recognizing the model of exact balance, continuing from Part 1, with overlapping paragraph. Thoughts are systemic of systems. The minimum structural system of omnirational, omniconsiderate universe is the tetrahedron. Its sixness of vectors between the system's four spheres interrelates the topologically described vertexes, constituting the total inventory of four triangular empty windows. Awareness of these topological characteristics is essential for clarifying the constant relative abundance that describes universe's minimum thinkable set to consciousness evolution. Metaphysical intellect's consciousness evolutions and observations of the most economical way systems behave relative to unity and self in universe requires an environment that we know of as the closest packing of spheres. Sixness awareness also applies to the six fundamental degrees of freedom and the closest packing of spheres from which the vectorial geometry derives. Polyhedrons, such as the tetrahedron, octahedron, icosahedron, and rhombic dodecahedron, are fundamental to new era anticipatory reality. Still, the large variety of asymmetrical aberrations in the center of the rhombic dodecahedron is primarily unknown to most of us, not thought about in any anticipatory correlation to our individual economic initiatives. And yet, the individual economic initiative turns out to be relevant when consciously considered and not treated as irrelevant. This means to say, when the general systems theory and other conceptualities of systems are not historically usurped and supplanted by whatever authoritative scheme periodically takes control. For this, among many critical reasons, consciousness evolution must differentiate a scheme from a system, despite the wide-spreading erroneous claims that the inherited manifest forms are bona fide systems. Supposedly, the manifest forms of such noteworthiness are accepted as an authority over all that each new generation has yet to clarify. Not knowing what is essential to realizing freedom is the freedom, by degree, to escape those ramifying culminations. The escape mechanism is an integral surviving design that traces back to self-survival and self-discipline. The self-determination refers evolution survivors, information gathering, local problem solving, individual economic intention to consciously initiate, recognize, and integrate the model of exact balance. The model of exact balance is the vector equilibrium. Its nuclear tendencies of implosion and explosion are reversible always in exact balance. If you closest pack schemes, you'll end up with overcrowded environments and misfitting, awkwardly ill-begotten gains. You can see evidence of such insanity in war-torn cities and towns wherever the structures are demolished by implosion or explosion. Then, all the king's horses and all the king's men cannot put the crumbled assembly together again. Its tiniest pieces of splintered wood and glass shards, bricks and mortar, into rock, stone, sand, still will not evidence the atoms that most likely were ignored as the best laid plans and schemes of humans result in another great loss. the losses are induced and perpetuated in twists and turns of exploitation and indifference to the harm done by political and other belief complex schemes. It is with nary a thought to the underlying structural integrity, the geometry and topology of the metaphysical universe and physical universe complementarities that instead can refer thought and language to the generalized universe's eternal patterning integrities, omitted by default education strategies, coincidental to the painstaking rises and falls of the PRJWBCS politics, religion, justice, war, belief, complex schemes. Contemporary humanity is left with the mess our world is in, to the extremes of housing costs and all inflated goods and services that can stymie the budget-minded, the heads of households whose increasing helplessness to remedy the out-of-control economies cannot fix it anyway. And this is especially not by implementing more politics, religion, justice, war. Those intentions as belief complex schemes simply were not consciously omni-rational systems to begin with. The problems with which our humanity perpetually is confronted correlate to consciousness evolution's multi-optional, manifold, potentially and clarifying concepts from the word conception. Bucky Fuller's insights and outlooks and synergetics are the exemplary mathematical, geometrical, geodesic measuring and mensuration as a wellspring of knowledge that our contemporary humanity can explore with a true democracy's cosmic origins in mind. In that process, the synergetic models can be extrapolated into our variously innovating experiences, especially when clarifying the closest humans will ever know to the supreme cognizance that many of us refer to by differently sounding names for God in lowercase or God spelled in uppercase G, the eternal omniscient mind. Repeatedly, the memory sets register the recollection in, quote, zero pulsation in the vector equilibrium is the nearest thing humans will ever know to eternity and God, end quote. I call it the eternal omniscient mind, Synergetics 400.01, primarily because God, lowercase, God in uppercase, in any translated language cannot be intellectually immaculate. Besides, PRJWBCS, politics, religion, justice, war, belief complex schemes to which the promoters of God in uppercase and God in lowercase also promise comfort, omitted the eternal omniscient mind's generalized universe when perpetuating the slave mentality conditioning. The slave mentality conditioning continues to this day. It originated in thought and language ages ago. The generalized universe's all space-filling eternal patterning integrities were unknown by the earliest generations of humans everywhere in the world who came before us. But the generalized universe is no longer unknown. The PRJWBC schemes under any humanly contrived consequence must not continue to be falsely accredited as systems. To continue along those paths, enable the malfunctioning, reenacting intentions. Many of those intentions may seem to be relatively harmless until their reenacting articulations increase the tolerance magnitudes of the residual inaccuracies of observation, and articulations culminate as the most extreme aberration. This occurs as more tolerance to abnormal adaptations of the manifest form accepts the reactionary behavior that did not exist in that specific form before the human mentality adjusted the a priori thought to the detrimentally developing environmental condition. Aspects of the lower evolution level are subconsciously integrated into the contemporary emulative behavior. It compels mindless reversion to a lower expectation while misusing the computer technology that naturally evolves to liberate humans from such condition. To be continued in Part 3, Episode 45.